Okay, so again, Adonijah says, pray, ask King Solomon, he will not refuse you. Bathsheba says, I have one small request, do not refuse me. And Solomon says, make your request, mother, for I will not refuse you. All right? So, if you're asking and praying to Mary to ask Jesus, again, your intercession, so if that makes you happy, go. But in any case, you're praying to Mary to ask Jesus, her son, who regards her with special, special love, because that's the Queen Mother. Okay? If you're asking her to ask him for something that is good for you, you will get it. Maybe not today, but eventually your prayers are going to get answered. And that's the position of the church as far as Mary is concerned. She has a special place, a special regard among the saints. Okay? So we're going from there. And does the Bible back us up? I think so. All right, let's move from there to, let's see where we're going with this. Three things. Intercession. If the typical channels of petitioning the king don't work in the Old Testament, okay, there were channels by which you could petition the king. If they don't work, go on to the Queen Mother and ask her to make the appeal for you. Okay, that's the idea of intercession. Veneration. The Queen Mother was so honored that even the king would bow down to her. He gave her homage, remember? Okay. And finally, coronation. The Queen Mother's status and authority were noted in this passage, and the fact that she had her enthronement to the right of the king. This was a ritual equivalent of any coronation, giving a crown or giving a scepter to a person. The fact that she sat at his right hand. So we have three virtues of the Queen Mother that we can apply to Mary: intercession, veneration, coronation. Okay. And why would Jesus follow the traditions of Judaism? Well, we already went through that. Anybody who's read Jesus and the Jewish Roots of the Eucharist, or The Case for Jesus, two books by Grant Petrie, which if you have not read to them, I would sincerely recommend them to you. Jesus and the Jewish Roots of the Eucharist just will blow your mind. It's just absolutely a beautiful book. And it takes the whole idea of the Eucharist and brings it back to the Passover and the Seder supper and what was going on with the Mass. And it's just a beautiful book, and it links all this stuff together. It's just really, really well done. Okay, so we come back to Revelations 12. Could that possibly be a reference to the Queen of Heaven? And are we talking about Mary? It could be pretty darn good. It's a pretty good interpretation. Okay. Now let's go to John, chapter 2, 1 to 11. Okay, and this miracle that is referred to is only referred to in the Gospel of John. It's the only one who tells us about it. We're talking about the wedding feast at Cana. Okay? And let me read this to you. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the wedding. When the wine ran short, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, how does that affect me? My hour is not yet come." His mother said to the servers, "Do whatever he tells you." This is the Jewish mother now, okay? Do whatever he tells you. Now there were 6 stone water jars there for Jewish ceremonial washings, each holding 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus told them, "Fill the jars with water," and so they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Draw some out now and take it to the head waiter." So they took it. And when the head waiter tasted the water that had become wine, without knowing where it came from, all of the servers who drew the water there, the head waiter said to the bridegroom, called the bridegroom and said to him, Everyone serves the good wine first when the people have drunk it freely, and then the inferior one. But you've kept the good wine until now. Okay, what are we going to get from that? First of all, Mary always points to Jesus. Always. Okay, when you pray to Mary, she always points to Jesus. Jesus is here, if you will. What does she say to the stewards? Do whatever he tells you. Okay? Always she points to Jesus. The second thing we learn is that Jesus always listens to his mother. Okay? And satisfies her wishes, even if it isn't convenient. Okay? And
the Jesus was a great vintner.
Jesus was, yeah, because his wine was the best of the lot. Okay, so how are we doing on time?
Good and fine, you got those 14, 15 minutes.
Okay, well, we're getting ready to finish up here. Finally, we recall in John 19, 26, 27. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, it's the story of Mary at the foot of the cross. Being given to John as his mother. And I'll read that. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple there, whom Jesus loved, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." And then the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his home. Okay, where do we go from there? Well, you can look at that verse two ways. The first way is that Mary was a widow, okay? Jesus, her son, was dying on the cross. Okay? Now, he knew he was going to get resurrected. So did Mary. Okay? But they were still going through this misery. John had no clue at this point. And Jesus told them that everybody was going to come back on the third day, but the apostles were not really sure about that and didn't quite believe it all. The only one that had any confidence in it was Mary. And yet he is giving him, he knew he was going to be back, and yet he is giving Mary to his disciple John as his mother. In other words, he's turning her mothership over to John, if you will. Woman, behold your son, son, behold your mother. Okay? And John accepted that, as he accepted Mary as his mother. Now, the church's interpretation of that is that Mary becomes the mother of all Christians at that point. Becomes the mother of all Christians. And is worthy of veneration as you would a mother. Okay? The mother of Jesus is our mother. Okay? That's the church's interpretation of that. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? And I would say, yes, Dorothy.
Gene, at the very beginning of your soliloquy, you stated that, that the Catholic Church is definitely based on all the beliefs of the Bible.
Yes.
Okay, the Bible, I don't know Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, I don't know which one it is, states that Mary had how many children, and even gives the name, and one of them is John. Now, the Catholic Church denies that Mary gave birth to any other children other than Jesus. Now, how do we know for sure? I mean, because John could easily be Mary's biological son. When Jesus says, "Son, behold thy mother, mother, behold thy son." If you go by the Bible, believe in the Bible, Mary had children other than Jesus, but the Catholic Church says no.
Okay. First of all, John was not related to Jesus in any way. This John. Okay? So he couldn't have been one of, quote, the sons and the brothers and sisters of Jesus that is referred to in the Bible frequently, not just once, brothers and sisters. But brothers and sisters was a common term. Okay?
Yeah, I know.
And there was no such term, there was no word for cousins. It didn't exist in the Greek, it didn't exist in the Aramaic. No word for cousin. So everybody was your brother and sister. So, it could also have been that Joseph had children before he married Mary, because Joseph was an old man when he married Mary. So they could be half brothers, half sisters. Okay? That's possible. But the church's interpretation is that there was no word for cousins, these were cousins. Okay, because tradition tells us that Jesus was an only child for Joseph and Mary. And Joseph wasn't even his dad, really. Okay? That's what the church's interpretation is. Now, you can accept it or not accept it, because nobody's gonna,
Well, I mean, I know the Catholic Church says that Joseph was an old man, but many people believe that he was a young man.
well, many people can believe whatever they want, but tradition tells us, and you've got to accept the fact that there was a lot of oral tradition that came down that isn't written in the Bible. It says so in the Gospel of John. There's a lot of things that Jesus did and said that aren't here. But I'm telling you what's here so that you can learn, that you can believe. Okay? So the whole idea that Jesus had brothers and sisters, you know, first of all, okay, if he did, so what? Okay?
I
But-
think it would be fine.
Yeah, you think it would be fine, but the church also teaches that Mary was ever virgin. Okay? And again, that's a sticking point for even a lot of Catholics. But that's what the church teaches, and you can, you know, if you choose not to accept it, then you may go to hell for it, but don't worry about it too much.
I gotta say, Joseph must have been one heck of a guy. 'Cause- or very old. If you're an old man married to a really young woman and not touching her, you are a heck of a guy.
Well, I believe that Mary and Joseph remained celibate throughout their entire marriage life.
That's what I'm just saying, yeah.
That, you know, Joseph was a young man, but he was he remained celibate. This is what I believe. That's why they didn't have any children, but according to
That's
the
what they had to
Bible,
be.
you know, if you take it literally, they did have children.
Well, taking it literally would mean going back to the Greek and the Aramaic, and the Greek says that, it gives that particular word, which refers to brothers and sisters, but there was no word for cousins. There's no word, in other words, that you didn't just, your uncle's children were your brothers and sisters.
But see, again, they state in the Bible that John and Jesus were cousins. You said there was no word for cousin, but they say it in the Bible.
Where?
Yeah.
In one of the Gospels.
No, you won't find it.
Well, maybe I just heard it in one of the movies then.
Could be.
But that's what, you know,
Yeah.
that
No,
that they
as
were
far as
related
I know,
because-
as far as I know, James and John were the sons of Zebedee, and Zebedee had no
Well, John the
relation.
Baptist I'm referring to.
Oh, John the Baptist was a cousin.
Yeah,
But
okay.
they
Okay,
refer
and
to
the
it.
church refers to him as his cousin, but you
Uh-huh.
won't find it says it's his cousin in the Bible,
Okay.
okay? You'll
Okay.
find only that he's the son of Elizabeth, and Elizabeth was, how did they refer to Elizabeth? Now,
I
let's-
think Zachariah was her,
Yeah, let's
cousin.
go
A
back.
cousin.
She was a cousin of Mary's.
Yeah, she was a cousin of Mary, we know that, but how does the Bible refer to her?
Oh.
Okay, let's go back and read that passage. In Luke, I believe,
It's
yeah,
Luke.
Mary visits Elizabeth. Okay, during those days, Mary set out and traveled the hill country in the town of Judah, where she entered the house of Zachariah and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, Elizabeth, filled with the Holy Spirit, cried out. Okay, nowhere does it tell you what Elizabeth and Mary were.
but the
What does
relation-
Gabriel say?
What is Gabriel? Gabriel was sent to
You
a
were
town called
relative?
Nazareth. Okay. Hail, the Lord is greatly favored, and it said to him, Mary, you have found, behold, you will conceive, and you shall bear a name of Jesus. And the Lord gave them, and Mary said to the angel, how can this be? All right. And behold, Elizabeth, your relative,
Okay.
has also conceived a son in her old age. Okay? First was it her relative. In other words, someone related to you.
This could be an aunt.
Yeah, could be an aunt, or, we would say she's her cousin, but could have been an aunt.
Everybody,
Well,
everybody's your cousin.
Yeah, you know,
Cousin, she was old. I mean, she was old.
she was old, well, obviously, if she was past childbearing age, she was at least over 40.
So to to be Mary's cousin would be very hard.
No,
Not
I had,
necessarily.
all my cousins were older than my parents, so that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That was
you
involved
know,
too.
Yeah.
you're talking family
Especially
here.
down south here.
You're talking family, especially Jewish family.
And you gotta remember, Methuselah lived to be 999 years old.
Yeah, so they say. Okay. All right, so let's wrap this up. We're going back to Jesus at the foot of the cross where he gives John kinship of Mary, if you will. And again, the verse is widely interpreted as Mary becoming mother of all Christians, and they being represented in the person of John. Now, does this mean that we can pray to Mary for something that isn't good for us and will always be granted regardless? Not exactly. Again, go back to the story in 1 Kings 2 where Bathsheba asked Solomon to let Adonijah marry his late father David's wife Abishag. Okay, and it must be noted that Solomon was no fool, saw through his half-brother's ploy, and had Adonijah killed. So be careful what you ask for.
You might get it. yeah.
Okay, not that Mary would be easily as fooled as Bathsheba as to your real intentions. Okay. Now, in summary, the Bible supports that Mary, the mother of Jesus, and the source of his humanity, okay, has a special role in salvation history. Read the Bible, you know that Mary has a special role in salvation history. And it's a role that's unique among the saints. She's the Queen of Heaven depicted in the book of Revelation. She has assumed the biblical role of the Queen Mother, whom the Bible shows has a unique place in the palace of the king. And that she was seated on a royal throne and had special access to the king and interceded with him on behalf of others. And just as Jesus at Cana fulfilled his mother's wishes, even when it was inconvenient, so he does today. And just as Mary always points to Jesus, do whatever he tells you, so Jesus gives us his mother as our mother. And if we can stand with John, we can stand at the foot of the cross. So just as Mary is first among all the saints in the Bible, she's first all among the saints always, and is worthy of special veneration. Okay? Conclusions, questions, anything? Yes? Brett?
Isn't it the only thing we know for sure that Mary gave a virgin birth, so
Yeah.
Jesus, but nowhere, we always pray, in our prayers, we always say, Blessed Mary, ever virgin.
Yeah,
I mean, what is that based on?
tradition.
Just
Strictly-
tradition,
Strictly,
not- we
strictly
don't really
Christian.
And why does it matter? It
Uh,
makes it sound like sex is dirty. The Catholic Church continues to pound that message, and now we say, oh, it's not really dirty. Make up your mind, is it or not?
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It depends, like they used to say in the Marine Corps, it depends on the situation and the terrain.
That situational awareness. huh?
Yeah, okay, depends on the certainly for a married couple, it's beautiful, okay, and it's the path to procreation. Okay, but you can even screw that up. So,
Choice of words.
yeah, well, okay, did I answer your question, Vern? Okay, any other questions?
I think Mary is a perfect example of obedience.
Obviously, yeah.
I think I try to frame my life after her obedience to God and to her husband. She was obedient to everybody, it seemed.
Yeah, as far as we know.
And she was a lovely.
But I would think that, somehow or other, I don't think Mary was a namby-pamby by any stretch of the imagination, considering what she set herself up to go through. Because she knew what was gonna happen. I mean, she was under I don't think she was under any
Misconception?
misconceptions.
Oh, bad choice of words again.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think she was, well, it's a good choice of word, actually.
But conception and
Yeah,
misconception?
yeah. I think she knew what she was letting herself in for, and certainly Simeon told her, 7 swords are gonna pass through your heart, so. Or many swords, it depends on the on the text of the translation. And by the way, if you go back to the original text in Isaiah, it doesn't say that a virgin's gonna give birth. It says a young lady will give birth, a young woman will give birth. It doesn't use the word for virgin. So, that's Catholic tradition more than comes from the Old Testament. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, let's close with a prayer then. In the name of the Father, we'll do the simple Our Father. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen.
That was very interesting.
It was.
You had to spend a lot of time putting that together.